The moment Bo Nix heard his name called by the Denver Broncos on draft night, the noise exploded. Analysts rushed to label it a reach, a panic move, a front office swing born out of desperation. Social media lit up with hot takes claiming Denver overdrafted a quarterback with college mileage, ignoring context and growth. Talking heads ran the same tired script. Too old, too system built, not enough upside. The narrative was loud, arrogant, and confident in being wrong.
Denver's not good, but this is not figure skating. It's football. I don't need style points. They were great on third down. They dominate time of possession. RJ Harvey delivers. So is Bo Nix. Basically, Kansas City said, we're not giving you anything over the top. We're going to make it long, slow, boring drives. And that's what they did. Sean Payton knows what he's doing. A lot of guys, a lot of GMs didn't like Bo Nix. Sean Payton loved him. He's now 23-10 as a pro. Playoffs both years. First quarterback ever, league history ever. 10-plus wins, 30-plus total touchdowns, first 2 years in the league.
Sources around the league say the Broncos' war room expected backlash. That didn't faze them. Internally, the evaluation focused on decision-making speed, command at the line, and resilience under pressure. While critics chased ceiling fantasies, Denver prioritized stability and execution. The disconnect between public perception and internal belief couldn't have been wider. Early camp reports didn't slow the hate either. Every missed throw in preseason clips got clipped and mocked. Every quiet practice day turned into proof that the pick was failing. The same voices ignored clean footwork, quick reads, and leadership cues that don't trend on highlight reels. Denver stayed quiet, let the noise burn itself out. Then the game started counting. Protection schemes tightened. Play calling became efficient. The offense stopped looking chaotic. According to sources tracking advanced metrics, Nix ranked near the top in time to throw and decision efficiency over key stretches. That doesn't go viral, but it wins games. The loudest critics had already boxed themselves in. They'd gone all in on the bust label. Admitting progress would mean admitting they rushed judgment. That's when arrogance turns into silence. And silence started spreading fast.
In my life, seen a more obvious bust pick than Bo Nix.
I hate this pick. To me, Bo Nix was a third-round guy.
What unfolded next wasn't flashy. It was surgical. Denver leaned into structure, short to intermediate routes, controlled tempo, situational football. As sources claim, the coaching staff tailored the offense around processing speed rather than highlight hunting. That's how trust builds. Bo Nix didn't chase hero moments. He stacked correct decisions. Third downs converted. Red zone mistakes vanished. Drives stayed alive. Defenses rested. That rhythm shifted the entire team. The Broncos stopped looking like a roster searching for identity and started looking organized. That matters in a league where chaos eats teams alive. Critics tried moving goalposts. First it was, he can't start. Then it became, he's being carried. That excuse fell apart as film showed audibles, protection calls, and coverage recognition happening pre-snap. Those aren't scripted. Those are earned. According to sources close to defensive game planning, opposing coordinators adjusted coverage, looked specifically to confuse Nix, and he still didn't panic. Checkdowns turned into chain movers. Scramble discipline avoided negative plays. Denver stopped beating itself. The arrogance of early criticism became obvious.
But there were two picks in I think the entire draft that I gave an F. One, Michael Penix, we just went over that. The second was Bo Nix, 12th overall to the Broncos. I don't really know why. Maybe it's just like the Falcons have been like this front and center laughing stock for the last decade. But Bo Nix at 12 is just as crazy. I think it's even worse than Penix at 8. Maybe it's better because Nix will play this year, but in terms of like talent, I don't get it.
Analysts who mocked the pick now spoke in cautious tones, avoiding strong statements. Nobody wanted to own the miss, but the scoreboard didn't care. Wins stacked, confidence grew. The locker room followed the quarterback's lead. This wasn't luck. It was discipline beating noise, and that scares people who build careers on hot takes. Every season has a moment when the narrative cracks. For Denver, it came during a stretch where expectations were low and pressure was high. Against a defense designed to bait mistakes, Nix stayed clean. No panic, no hero ball, just execution. Sources tracking in-game adjustments noted how quickly Denver pivoted once pressure packages showed up. Protection shifted, routes shortened, tempo changed. That's quarterback control. By halftime, the defense knew it was in for a long night. This was the game critics tried to minimize. System win. Defense did the work, but film told a different story. Third and long conversions, pre-snap recognition, avoided sacks, controlled clock. That's quarterback value that doesn't scream but whispers loudly to people who actually know ball. Post-game, locker room energy changed. Veterans spoke differently. Confidence wasn't forced anymore. It was assumed. According to sources, practice intensity jumped the following week.
Like, I love stories like this. I promise you, I've talked to, let's call it a dozen, maybe a little more, maybe a couple less, but at least 10 guys in the league who are high-ranking evaluators and decision makers in their organization. Nobody else had a first-round grade on him. I view him as a backup. I love the dude. I love the story. I love his competitiveness. I think he's a smart football guy. He's going to give you every ounce of him. Like, I just love him. But if I'm running an organization here, I think he's probably a backup.
Players trust leaders who don't fold under pressure. The league noticed too. Quiet respect replaced loud doubt. Defensive coordinators adjusted game plans. That alone is admission. When teams prepare differently, the threat is real. That was the night the arrogant takes died quietly. No apology tours, no retractions, just silence. As Denver kept winning, media tone shifted fast. Segments once filled with mockery became cautious breakdowns. Analysts started praising fit and development without acknowledging earlier disrespect. That's how backpedaling looks in real time. According to sources monitoring ratings, Broncos games featuring Nix saw consistent viewership growth. Winning helps, but stability sells too. Fans want quarterbacks who don't implode. That reliability rebuilt trust in Denver football. Critics who once questioned maturity now praise leadership. Same traits, different framing. The arrogance wasn't the criticism, it was the certainty. That's what aged badly. Bo Nix never responded publicly. No clapbacks, no social media performances. That restraint elevated credibility. When success answers for you, talking becomes unnecessary. The lesson was simple but uncomfortable. Rushing judgment makes experts look small. Development isn't linear. Context matters. Systems matter. Patience matters. Denver didn't win the debate, it let time do the work. Now the narrative stands exposed. Bo Nix didn't silence critics with words. He did it with poise, preparation, and wins. The same voices that laugh now hedge carefully. The same draft night jokes disappeared into the archive. As sources claim, Denver's long-term outlook stabilized faster than expected.
My point is this. He was in an excellent situation in Oregon, and I'm not saying that to ding him, but I am a little bit worried when I look at the Broncos depth chart that he's walking into. You don't see that kind of speed. There's questions on the offensive line. So while I get the fit, I see the vision, I see that he has a lot of the attributes that Sean Payton has historically liked in quarterbacks. I am a little bit concerned about that sort of transition because he's going to be facing a level of adversity I don't think he really encountered at Oregon.
Rookie contracts paired with efficient quarterback play create flexibility. That's how contenders get built quietly. This wasn't about revenge, it was about proof. Proof that arrogance ages fast, proof that structure beats chaos, proof that quarterbacks don't need hype to command respect. The Broncos found direction, the league took notice, and the silence from early critics says everything. Once the early season noise faded, the real conversation shifted to film. Coaches, scouts, and defensive analysts stopped debating headlines and started breaking down snaps. What stood out immediately was how Bo Nix controlled pace without forcing chaos. The footwork stayed clean, the eyes stayed level, progressions didn't stall. According to sources who chart quarterback efficiency weekly, Nix ranked near the top tier in mistake avoidance per dropback, a stat teams quietly obsess over. That's how games are won before highlights ever happen. Defenses tried the usual tricks, late rotations, disguised coverages, simulated pressure. None of it rattled him. Instead of hunting explosives, Nix took what was given and turned it into rhythm. 5-yard gains stacked into 10-play drives. Third and medium became manageable. Time of possession flipped in Denver's favor. The entire offense benefited. Linemen played freer. Receivers trusted timing. Running lanes opened because linebackers had to respect the pass. Sources close to defensive preparation say teams stopped blitzing recklessly against the Denver Broncos because Nix punished it with quick decisions. That's a level of respect quarterbacks usually earn after years, not months. And yet the national conversation still lagged behind the tape. Why? Because admitting growth means admitting the early takes were reckless. Film also exposed something critics missed on draft night: adaptability. Nix wasn't locked into one style. He adjusted protections, he altered cadence, he manipulated safeties with his eyes. These are veteran habits, not flashy, but deadly effective. Coaches value that more than arm strength clips. By mid-season, Denver's offense stopped being described as limited. It became efficient. That label doesn't trend, but it terrifies defenses. Efficient teams don't beat themselves, they make opponents crack first. And once that happened consistently, the narrative had no choice but to shift. Long before pundits softened their tone, the locker room already knew. Veteran players respond fast to quarterbacks who protect the huddle. Missed assignments dropped, sideline body language changed. There was no panic energy. According to sources around team operations, practice tempo increased once players trusted the offense wouldn't implode on Sundays. Leadership showed up in small moments: quiet corrections, calm responses after stalled drives, no finger pointing. That stuff doesn't show up in box scores, but it builds belief. Receivers ran sharper routes because timing mattered. Linemen finished blocks knowing drives would continue. The defense played looser because rest was guaranteed. This internal confidence created a snowball effect. Wins reinforced trust. Trust reinforced discipline. Discipline reinforced wins. The Broncos stopped being a punchline and started being a problem. Teams circled them differently on the schedule. Preparation intensified. Critics tried to reframe it as coaching success. That excuse ignores the obvious. Systems don't execute themselves. Quarterbacks drive systems. According to sources reviewing communication logs, Nix handled more pre-snap responsibility than most second-year starters. That's not babysitting. That's command. The arrogance of early criticism became clearer with every week. People underestimated mental processing because it's harder to quantify than arm strength. They overlooked growth because it doesn't fit hot take timelines. The locker room didn't care. Wins kept coming. By the time analysts began acknowledging improvement, Denver had already moved on. The team wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong, it was too busy stacking results. Eventually, the loudest critics stopped talking. No apology videos, no accountability segments, just quiet pivoting to new storylines. That silence said more than any breakdown ever could. The narrative collapse was complete. According to sources tracking media trends, mentions of reach and bust dropped sharply as Denver kept winning. Instead, phrases like stability, efficiency, and command took over. Same player, same traits, different framing. That's how wrong takes age. Bo Nix never chased validation. No interviews clapping back, no cryptic posts, just preparation and performance. That approach earned respect inside league circles fast. Defensive coordinators adjusted game plans. That's the ultimate compliment. You don't adjust for quarterbacks you don't fear. Denver's front office looked vindicated. Draft strategy shifted from mockery to praise. Analysts who laughed now cited fit and patience, convenient words. But the truth was already written on tape. The lesson landed hard across the league. Evaluation isn't about hype, it's about context, growth, and discipline. Quarterbacks don't need to be loud to be lethal. They need control. By the time the season turned, the story was no longer about critics being wrong. It was about Denver being right. And that truth didn't need defending. It spoke every Sunday, loud enough for everyone to hear. If this breakdown delivered value, support the content by hitting like and subscribe to stay locked in for more real stories, real breakdowns, and real outcomes.